Good afternoon, everyone. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and we will officially call this meeting to order at 3:34 p.m. I can't go on without saying that it was 10 years ago today that the tragic downtown fire occurred, claiming the lives of Ray Walters and Ken Ray. I remember that day often. It was a Thursday, and I was in St. Mary's, and Clark Bearfeld's called around 3:30, saying, "Doug, where are you?" And I told her, and she said, "I'd like you home as soon as and safe as possible." This morning at 9 a.m., some of us on this webinar attended a wreath-laying ceremony to honor what happened to them that very sad day. Chief Smith and Mayor Todd gave brief comments to the group to remind us of the dedication and sacrifice our North Perth firefighters provide us 24/7, 365 days a year. Thank you, Todd. So with that being said, I would like all of us to pause for a moment of reflection in their honor. Thank you, everyone. Okay, moving on. Are there any additions or amendments for today's agenda? Seeing none, a motion to approve the agenda. Moved by Andrew, second by, it's tough rolling across here. Whose hand's up? Becca? Second by Becca. Questions or comments? All those in favor? And that is carried. At this time, we'll remind everyone that if you have any pecuniary interest to declare, please do so now or anytime throughout the meeting. I am seeing none. Moving on to item 4 on our agenda. Has everyone reviewed the minutes from January 20th meeting? Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, I'd like a motion to approve them. Moved by Becca, second by Todd. Questions or comments? All those in favor? And that is carried. We are now on item 5, and I would invite Kim Couch to give us an update on North Perth economic development. Kim.
Thanks, Doug. I think I try to keep things really brief and to allow as much time for discussion and brainstorming this afternoon. I tried to go into quite a bit of detail in my report. So I'm not going to really talk specifically about anything in the report. I'm certainly open to take any questions. I know we have had lots of activities moving forward and continue to be supporting the COVID recovery in different areas as well. But I'm just going to keep it to my report. And if anyone has questions, I'm open to take them.
I see Andrew has a question.
Kim, just wondering whether you could elaborate on the, under youth attraction and retention, the high skills major program in agriculture at the high school.
Yes. Now, I have not spoke with them directly about it. I just saw that is something that they have been approved for a high skills major, which is amazing. That does really, it can be quite broad in how that they will have specific coursework that will help them, and they'll have co-op placements. And I know right now they had a high skills major in health sciences as well as in business. And I think there was one other one. I'm not sure if it's still current as well, but that was great news to hear about that. And I think it's a really good opportunity for our young people, you know, for those that are not maybe currently in agriculture, and to help explore different opportunities in agriculture. So we'll definitely be investigating that more. I would assume that would be for next year. versus the current school year. But I know it's quite a detailed application process that they go through for that. And I believe that I thought we had already had one in here in Perth, and normally they don't permit more than one high skills major in the region. So I'm not sure about the details, but I thought that was really great news. I was really pleased to see that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Is there anyone else? Questions or comments? Go ahead, Todd.
Just a brief announcement to the committee in case it was sort of buried amidst all the news this week. Earlier this week, SWIFT announced its projects for Perth County for rural broadband enhancement with the blessing of the province of Ontario, and it was a great news story for North Perth. We came out perhaps the disproportionate winner in this, although there are projects in each of the Perth County municipalities, including one that sort of touches the edge of Perth South through another county's project. But good news is that a significant portion of Alma Township will be receiving broadband fiber with SWIFT support and Mornington Action. And there are some other projects as well in North Perth. So it was a very exciting announcement, I think, for all of us. And forgive me for saying so, but I think we're getting more done than I expected, which is very exciting for us. So I thought I'd share that piece of information.
Good. I think Britain was a huge winner, were they not? Yeah.
Yes, the east part of Alma, from Moncton right to the Listowel boundary, east of 23, that will all be pretty much all be connected.
Good. They can get rid of their soup cans and strings.
Exactly, Doug. Exactly.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to make comments or ask questions? Leanne? No, you just had your hand up. Okay, no worries. That's okay. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Okay, thank you very much, Kim. We'll move on to number 6, and I'll ask Sarah Franklin to give us an update on the county. Sarah.
Thank you, Doug. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Wonderful. So similar to Kim, I'm not going to go through this report in great detail. The one item I would like to pull out, though, is a significant one toward the end. The county's Economic Development and Tourism Division is the lead on a rather important project for Perth County, which is the creation of a diversity, inclusion, and anti-racism charter for the region. There are some details here, but you can find more information on our website at perthcounty.ca/charter. The one piece I'd like to highlight is just that our public engagement process is open at this time. So we have a survey as well as some community roundtables that will be hosted over the month of March. So if you haven't already had a chance to check out this website, I'd encourage you to do so to be informed about the project, as well as to complete the survey and participate in roundtables if you're available to do so. And if anyone has any questions about the items in the report, I'd be happy to answer them. But I want to make sure we leave some time here for the brainstorming.
Questions or comments for Sarah? Please raise your hand. And I am seeing none. Do you see any, Jess? Okay. Thank you for your comments, Sarah. Okay, moving on. This is what Kim wanted to talk. Our main topic was for this afternoon's meeting, and that is the NPEDAC Priorities Brainstorming Session. Kim, take it from here.
Okay, thanks very much. So at our last meeting, as you recall, we did focus on our plan to identify priorities as an advisory committee to council at this meeting. And it's a little bit more difficult to do a brainstorming process online, but Jessica and I are going to do our best to try and facilitate a process that we encourage everyone to participate fully. And I'm just going to propose a couple of how we're going to do that. So the first step is that Jessica is going to share a sheet of paper, which normally would be a large sheet of paper, and she's going to share that on the screen. And and so as we're going through, she will list the priorities as identified. We have given some background information that I'll touch on a little bit in a moment. But she'll highlight that. She will also number the items so that in the second phase, it'll be a little bit easier for us to go through and do more of a voting or prioritizing of those items. So the first idea is just tracking the ideas. The second step, in most brainstorming activities, there's a little bit of of anonymity to the process and identifying your top 3 areas that you'd like to focus on. So we're open to being more flexible with this, but I know sometimes and to ensure everyone has a good opportunity to provide their thoughts and perspective on the rankings, we can do a couple of different things. One option would be for us to vote for the top 3 ideas and to use the private chat on the WebEx platform and just send it directly to Jessica. And then she'll track that right now in the meeting. The second option would be for us to email Jessica after the meeting. It'll be a little bit easier because items will be numbered, and depending how many ideas we get, we may want to even group them somewhat. So that would be the second option. And I think I just wondering if we want to agree how we'd like to proceed on that, whether we'd prefer to privately send those selections through to Jessica, or whether we'd like to do it after the meeting and then Jessica will compile them and then send them back to the committee after the meeting. Any thoughts or preferences there?
Comments from anyone?
What would be easier for Jessica?
Jessica, would probably be easier for people to email you, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Email will be easier.
Email would be easier, and that way she'd have it documented. I think the chat would be documented as well, but it would not put as much pressure to be doing it, and then she'd be able to make sure she had it all summarized easily.
Okay, Andrew, did you have your hand up there?
I was going to ask which is easiest. I'm probably fine either way, whatever suits the administrators easier.
Okay.
Okay. Well, why don't we'll give that a try then. And so the first area that I think we had distributed some information to the advisory committee with the agenda package, just to give you some background information on a recent pulse survey that went out to businesses. It was a summarization of information, as well as the North Perth strategic plan, because there is elements within both of those documents that I think do apply to priority setting for the advisory committee in what projects you would like to tackle, or to prioritize and to take to council to say these are areas that we would like to focus on during the remainder of our term. And that so I think first I wanted to see, did anyone have questions about the pulse survey? I'm not going to go through it in detail, but if anybody had comments or questions about the pulse survey, that would be helpful. Or any interesting comments that anything enlightening that came into that, because I thought the results were interesting. And we had 48 respondents, so that was pretty good.
Anyone like to make comment?
Todd?
The one thing that stood out for me, and you and I, Kim, have talked about this, but others haven't heard this, is that there is a proportion of people who responded to that survey that still seem to be positioning their attitude towards digital services in a, somewhat negative frame or a disinterested frame. And perhaps that's our reality, but I also worry that there's sort of an undertow of comments in the survey responses that suggest that there's a hope that everything will go back to normal. And I'm worried a little bit, I admit to it, that some businesses in our community, in presenting that opinion or that sort of undertow, might be missing something really important here, and that is that we've seen a lot of changes, and some of them are not going to go away. So I do find myself a little bit concerned about that sort of theme that underlies some of the comments.
And some businesses that plan to and have already are exploring expanding their platforms, but yeah, definitely there is a pretty significant proponent that don't have any intention. I did get some clarification from our digital service squad staff member that Perth County received funding for, and she had indicated, I had asked if any businesses in North Perth did receive transformation team funding to help them implement e-commerce, and she said yes, that there were some that had received the funding, but some of them did not complete the required training elements, and that had been significantly scaled back from the first round of funding. So I thought that was kind of enlightening as well. So it sounded like it wasn't really that they recognized the difficulty in committing to a lot of training, so they scaled it back, but still some of our businesses were not willing or did not complete the training. So I did not, I wasn't sure if she was able to share the specifics of that, but people, for whatever businesses, may not be fully engaged in pursuing that. However, in our recommendations, I did say we'll continue to provide opportunities, make people, businesses aware of different avenues or means for them to acquire more information, to acquire funding, so that if that changes, we can help coach them along in that direction. As Todd mentions, I think that is an area. I mean, it might vary depending on businesses and the type of business, the sector that they're in, but the need to be online will continue. So we'll continue to help support that.
Thanks, Kim and Todd. Anyone else? Go ahead, Leanne.
Yes, I just want to share, similar to what Mayor Todd was stating, based on what I was, getting from this information from the data. And similar to Todd's concerns, I'm very concerned that the impact on our retail, on our business sector, could actually be quite alarming, because if people feel that things will go back to normal and they don't, this could cause significant stresses on these businesses, which could actually cause more closures in the long term. And more closures in the long term can mean, some pretty devastating impact on our downtown and on just our regular services in our communities. So I'm a bit concerned as well. And it's interesting, Kim, that you talked about how those who were getting the grants for, e-commerce, they failed to kind of complete the process because of training. And I can tell you, putting e-commerce together is complex. And even getting some initial training to do that from a business owner's perspective, it's not an easy thing to do. And so even with a little bit of training, it often isn't enough. And even to get full training, people have all different levels of skill and all different levels of comfort. And it's also expensive to invest in it as well. So I have a lot of concerns about, what this survey told us, because it could lead to, some big impacts for us as a community. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Leanne. Anyone else like to make comment? Let me scroll through here. I am seeing none at this time. Okay, Kim, you can continue on.
Okay, so one item I just wanted to, so we did also share the strategic plan. And again, that's quite an in-depth document that touches on economic development and community development considerably within that plan. And I did want to refer back to the first meeting of the committee where, just as a bit of a refresher, and that there was some discussion at that first meeting about business needs and how that might link into priorities. And we did talk about that. And I thought I would just, maybe to get the discussion started, I would highlight those. And then what I'm suggesting is we could either just have people throw out ideas, or we could have, do a more of a structured where each person supplies one priority or one area. So either is an option. So first, I'm going to just summarize those areas. Sorry. Okay, so the questions. So labor attraction and retention was a key issue. Youth apprenticeship, industrial training, youth attraction and retention, and attainable housing. So those were areas that were seen as being, those are local business community needs, were items. So Jessica, I'm not sure if you want to maybe share the screen now. And I don't know if you want to even just put them there, see if that's a starting point just at the top, and then we can go, not that those are numbered items, but then see those are starting points. And I think a couple of rules with brainstorming is always, no idea is a bad idea, and that we really want participation from everyone. So we're looking for everyone to contribute an idea or to participate. Silence is agreement. So if we don't hear anything, then that means that you agree and that you're okay with the priorities or the things that are being discussed. So definitely encourage everyone to hold each other accountable, to contribute and to participate in a balanced way. So not so we have everyone contributing, not just a couple. And I think those are the main ones, as well as really trying to keep to our time frame that we have today. So like this is a good half hour of sharing priorities, and I'm just going to double check here. Perfect. Sorry, I was looking at my other sheet. I couldn't actually see the screen, so that's great that they're listed there. Just
Can you remind me what the fourth one was, Kim?
I think that was it. Attainable housing.
I think it was youth apprenticeship and training.
Not attraction?
There was a youth retention and attraction that was separate. They seem to be two separate themes.
Yeah. Sorry, I can read them again quickly here. Sorry. So the first bullet was labor attraction retention. Local, and then the second bullet was local apprenticeships, industrial training. The third was youth attraction and retention. And then the final one mentioned on that date was attainable housing.
Okay.
Okay. So so we just need to. Would you like to keep those on as identified priorities, or any that? I think one thing I know I said no idea is a bad idea, but for some of them, as we look at it, I think we need to be selecting ideas that are within our scope of influence, either as a council or as a municipality. So some ideas might be so big, we may or may not be able to tackle them. I don't know that any of those really fall into that category. I'm not saying that they do, But that just might be something to guide the conversation as well as we're coming up with ideas for priorities for the committee. Okay, so why don't we? Is everyone in agreement to leave those in as priorities?
Kim, if I might,
Yeah.
I see all of those as priorities. I think the one that's kind of missing on this list is agriculture. And we may want to think about an agricultural play in our economic development priorities. So.
Okay. Okay, so we can add that one in?
Yeah.
So just agriculture, or are you thinking agriculture in any...
Well, you know me, Kim.
That's pretty broad.
You know me, Kim. Yeah. I'm always talking about agricultural technology and innovation and so
innovation
forth.
And right. Okay. Okay, so why don't we work our way down the line then? And I see Andrew as, is that fair? I'm not sure if that's the same order that everybody has or not, but Andrew, do you have an idea that you think that we should be looking at as a priority?
Sure, not necessarily expansion, I don't think, of this, but I can lay support for comments around youth retention, and certainly as it applies to agriculture. Interesting example came up in my life or working career, where we had a co-op student who was born and raised on a farm, and his counselors through high school were telling him to leave the area. The opportunities are outside of North Perth in the more urban centers, and really frustrating to me as well as his parents, and unfortunately was leading him somewhere where he didn't want to go. And so I think there's big opportunities around youth retention. Certainly, we need to do our best to keep those that are raised in our local areas, to keep them around and to make sure that they're aware of the great opportunities that really are. And I am certainly a supporter of the agriculture industry, and lots of opportunities there.
Okay, great. Becca, do you have any priorities that you see are missing there, or want to elaborate on any that are listed?
I don't have any that aren't on the list. The attainable and affordable housing is definitely one that's key. I know even finding, like, for us, we have a difficult time finding local co-op students at Warden Up to Grove. So when we find people who are outside the area, we cannot find any rental places for them to stay, especially affordable, because they are still students and it's only short term. And I even know, like, a lot of people just struggle to find a rental in the area.
Okay, so you're focusing, I mean, by attainable, we usually mean, because sometimes people will group it as affordable, where affordable often means subsidized housing, but attainable would be for, young people or people coming into the community to buy a home or to rent at a reasonable rate. And so you're, adding to that, but also maybe clarifying, rental property is a priority. So, yeah. And I would agree. I think it's very difficult for people to find rental property.
And especially the prices now too, like the prices even to buy is just, there's no one, like I bought my house 7 years ago and you could never find a house at the price that I paid. Now it's probably triple to pay for the same type of house.
It's definitely, that's a real foundational issue that has pretty significant impacts across in a lot of different ways, for sure.
Good comments, Beck. And we, as we all know, especially on council, we deal with this daily, and it's very difficult to find this. And there's not a week goes by that we don't get a phone call or an email. And until, and I still say until, this is going to be the toughest one to capitalize on. But until we get some, money from the province and the feds, there's just, the builders are out there now. They're out there to make a profit, and that's just the way it is. And it is unfortunate, and I don't know how the young people can get into the market at this point. But very good comments. Thank you.
Okay. And then Surrey, is that probably Martin after? Yes, Martin. Sorry, we'll go with Martin and then we'll go back to Leanne.
I just, I think the labor attraction, the attainable housing, and youth, I think this all plays in the same pot. I had to bring in an employee. He came from Brampton. It took forever to find him a place. We offered the first couple months rent that we're paying it just to get him to get attracted to come here and at least to get through, so he can keep his apartment for the first couple months. Like it's crazy what you have to do to bring employees here, and I think this is all the same. And yeah, as we mentioned, for youth, I mean, go and rent an apartment. It's crazy to the costs are skyrocketing, and they just have a chance to live here.
So for that person that was coming, I mean, would they have found cheaper rent in Brampton? Or do you know that, or I mean, that's
I don't know that.
Way to entice them. Okay.
I don't know that, but the one bedroom apartment what he found in the end is in Waterloo, and he pays $1,400 a month for that. So I think that you can do that for an engineer who has a little bit of higher income, but if you're a normal operator, it gets very difficult.
Right. Okay. No, thanks. It's good to have those, real life examples. Perfect. Okay. Leanne.
Thanks. I have a couple of things to add. Just additional stories around rental. I know of some friends of mine who are looking for rentals in Kitchener, and the Kaufman lofts were cheaper than a lot of the rents in Listowel. We're finding that some of the rent in Listowel is averaging about $1,700 a month, whereas rents in Kitchener are around $1,500, and so it's quite interesting, the difference, and why that is. It's quite interesting. So it's definitely a need. I also just want to add this, the second point, and I feel that it touches all the sectors that we're looking on here in this list, and it's around connectivity with internet for all businesses, and even just training. So we talked about how when people are trying to do e-commerce, that they're not even able to continue with the grants because their training hasn't been completed. And I feel that there's a real need for educational support around that. So, I know that there's been some headway been made with SWIFT, and I appreciate that. But many businesses may have to wait a long, long time before they have better connectivity. And the key too is that as we all sit in this meeting, how many of you are working from home and are challenged at times to have that connectivity work well from home. It's really quite interesting. And it is hitting the agricultural sector very hard. And I'm glad to hear our colleagues in Elma Township are being supported, but there are many in North Perth that aren't in Elma who are trying to have agricultural businesses and are going to continue to struggle until connectivity is improved. So again, this kind of connectivity is so paramount for business to be successful in any sector. And without that, it's hard to conduct business at all. So especially with the new way and a new approach of how businesses will be moving forward as we move more into recovery. So I continue to carry that flag for sure, as I feel it's very important for the success of business. Thank you.
Now, are you, just to build on that, so you're talking about connectivity for business and for all business in North Perth. Are we talking more specifically about rural connectivity versus connectivity in some of our smaller communities? Like, is that it? Because I have heard differing messages that that's not even the best. It's not as reliable that levels really vary. And I'm just wondering if we should be narrowing that down, or could be adding like maybe we should be saying specifically rural connectivity, that it might be a little bit too broad. Maybe I'm wrong in wanting to narrow it down. Any comments on that? Or
I see Andrew's hand up.
hey, Andrew?
I've got just one quick comment. So we've got some customers, obviously in rural areas, and they are renting office space in towns, so that they can get onto a source of internet for a couple of hours a day, because they just can't at home. They just can't do it.
How do they do that? So they're actually renting office space, or yeah, I'm just curious how they're doing it.
Yep, they rent a space, they put a computer in it, and they go and sit there for a couple hours a day and do books and do research, and it's incredible. I can't believe it's happening.
Wow. Okay.
So maybe we need to be augmenting our libraries as a high-speed source places for people to use, as a possible consideration, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as a short term, or another option.
Oh, no question. I mean,
yeah.
Of course, my passion about broadband and serving on the Swift board. So no question that it's just a bridge to a much better solution.
Yeah, I believe
it does seem like a pretty significant cost for them to have to rent a place, and whether they could share a space with someone, or augment through a library like that. There might be ways that we can help support that. Yeah.
The issue also is that some people are renting hotel rooms for that purpose as well, which is short-term rentals, and because they can rent it for the day and then leave. And the other piece to this is that the connectivity also requires some privacy. Just as we're having a meeting at this time, other people conduct business online and Google Meets or through WebEx like this, and they need to have a quiet space with some level of privacy, which unfortunately not all libraries can provide. Yes, they can provide the actual internet connectivity, but there is a need for some space, right, to work and to have chats or meetings like this of this nature, just to conduct business. So yes, there are all kinds of creative things happening out there, and hotel rentals are part of that too.
And is that in North Perth, or is that beyond? I mean, I'm just curious.
Yeah, that is happening. I know it's happening in Ontario. I was listening to a report on CBC, and so once this becomes, part of what the media is sharing, other people have the same opportunity, and we do have hotels in our region in North Perth that can provide that service too. So, it would be interesting to even just to survey them, and it could promote their business to some degree as well. It can help them with their rentals too. So, but people are trying to find all kinds of solutions, because this is desperate times around connectivity in order to conduct business. Thanks.
One of the things we worked on when we designed the community hub actually was hoteling suites for that very purpose. They would have access to high speed. Now, of course, that's not a tomorrow solution either, but that was always one of the ideas in the community hub, was to have hoteling suites that both business and social services could use that would have access to high speed internet. And again, as Leanne said, would provide that privacy versus being in an open library space.
And as Mayor Todd mentioned before about the fortunate funding that we are getting, I think the time frame, if I'm not mistaken, is it not 2022? Sometime in there. So it's not a quick fix at all, but at least it is being addressed. But it's just not going to happen in the very, very near future.
It could be into 2023, Doug.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think the next one to share would be Doug. Doug, do you have any specific priorities that you think could be elaborated on, or key items that are missed that we could add?
Did you say me?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I think we've had great discussion on all of it, and we've touched on it. And like Martin has said, attainable housing, that just blows me away. That $1,400 in the city, and it's here. But it's the sad news about it is that people are paying it, and there is not a lot of rental properties within North Perth right now. So. And again, labor attraction and retention, they're all good ideas. It's just how we are going to prioritize moving forward as a team here and capitalize on our items. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So I think sorry.
Just one question, Kim. I don't know whether it's appropriate here or not, but is there discussion around foreign labor attraction? As part of this, I know we've had many farm operation customers work through temporary foreign worker programs and had success. They're challenging to work through, and but those that have had successes have really appreciated having the additional labor available to them, and it's worked out well. But it's few and far between.
Can I ask a question? I'm curious about this. I wonder if there are a few in our community now who are really good at this, who know how to jump through all the hoops and so forth, and whether an easy sort of low-lying fruit on the tree option is to sort of tap that insight and that knowledge and almost make them advisors or volunteer supports for others who might be looking for that kind of help.
There definitely aren't many that have the capabilities, but there would be a few, Todd, for sure that have that knowledge built now.
Cool. Okay,
that's good to know.
Yeah.
Now, are you thinking, Andrew, like as making that like a sub item underneath labor attraction and retention, or just to? Because I think you're right. Sure. I mean, we as a municipality have not done a lot. I know some counties. I was at. Gosh, it was probably a year or two ago now, where Wellington County actually has staff that they kind of help to run the whole immigration program. But that's at a different scope. I mean, we could certainly explore that and find ways, if it at a different scale, to be able to help and maybe to advocate with the federal government and different levels. So I think it's definitely something we could look at.
I've heard lots of business operations suggest there's opportunities to expand their production capabilities. They just don't have the staff to do it. And so foreign labor is certainly available if you can work through the programs.
Right. And I know that it definitely has some challenges. I know we have some, whether it's skilled individuals or labor. We do have some different. We have a number of different businesses that are using it, and it would be curious to see whether it's been working well for them or not. Like some mixed. But yeah, it's definitely not easy. Okay, and so Becca, I think we're back to you. Any ideas that you think we should be adding that is maybe important for us to include that hasn't so far?
Yeah, I don't have anything really about adding anything. The youth and retention and attraction. I know that we did something with the county a couple years ago. Because I actually was a part of that. And I don't know if they're still doing that kind of stuff, but I know like we're having difficulty some of the people at the high school don't even know we exist as an accounting firm. So like we have they have a great business program there. So I think going to the high schools and promoting like local businesses is really like something that we need to do.
Okay. And yes, we do have, that is one of our items on our economic development business plan, is implementing the youth attraction strategy. And it's extremely lengthy. there are different parts of it that that we're working our way through, prioritized, but that's something on this year's plan, is to be going through, seeing how that works with our current strategic plan, and making sure where possible to go into the schools and to be helping to promote businesses. So no, that's good to hear that. I mean, not good to hear that you're having challenges, but good to know that that's still important for us to focus on. Sorry, Todd?
Yes, I just want to put in a sort of note of interest. I had a chat with Kim Crawford, who's the principal at LDSS, about some of these matters going back a little while now. And one of the things that she was most excited about and said had a significant impact were the county case studies, sort of short videos about people who are staying here, young people who are making a living here. And she found that the format, the multimedia approach, the length, which was fairly short of these videos, were just amazing. So Sarah, you should take note that there's a fan out there, and the question is, how do we go to the next step, right? How do we extend that to continue to send messages and support the school, and have the school support us in our strategies?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great. Okay. Any other comments? Seems like we're Martin, do you have anything else that you'd like to add in that you don't think has been captured? I think we've done a pretty good job in kind of summarizing things into categories, so that will help things for sure.
Kim, if I could just mention something, I don't want to put words in the committee's mouth, but one item that jumps out to me that isn't maybe as explicitly mentioned here, but I do know that North Perth has supported in the past is entrepreneurship, and that kind of development. I know through things like Win the Space and other items like that, just encouraging entrepreneurship and that kind of culture, I think lines up a little with youth retention and attraction a bit, but it also can overlap with other areas like agriculture and innovation and things like that. So it may bounce around to a few categories, but it's just one item. I don't know if that's of interest to the committee to be on there as a priority.
And Kim knows I'm going to jump in here because I've been thinking about this a little bit lately too. I think one of the challenges, and I put it out to our esteemed fellow members of this committee, is the lack of capital. There are probably, I meet a lot of people, and they have expressed an interest. They when they talk about business, many of them say, I'd be interested in starting a business, but I have no capital to start with. And that's a really tough position, right? Because it means that there are people out there with a little bit of entrepreneurial spirit, but they've got no money, no way to turn to the banks or anything like that to make it happen. And while we may argue that in the sort of free market system that's life, it would be nice to sort of find ways to support the nucleation of even micro businesses across our community.
Any other final thoughts? Or Martin, thanks.
A quick to what Mayor Todd just said. I think that's just going back to the times when I started. I think that's very something like this is very interesting. It's always important that comes with some advice and expertise and help. I think there's programs out there. The question is, are they good enough? That might be should maybe be looked at. And then I want to say two things about the apprenticeship and industrial training. From our side, we are training. We are a post-consumer plastic recycler, but we have now millwright number 4 in apprenticeship. Kind of trying to develop that and bring that along. And I'm wondering sometimes if all the businesses know that they can do that, or that they actually, it is not their core business, but do they have millwrights, electricians, or other people on staff they can actually still have offer something to youth and help educate them. Like not just talking about like a dynamic who is 100% the millwright, can he do that? But for us, basically as a recycler, we offer apprenticeship to always one person at the moment on the mechanical side, and hopefully in a year or in 2 years we can also do that on the electrical side. Just maybe encouraging businesses more to offer that. It's not just always school, it's also like the businesses, do they understand that they can do that and how easy it is, and yeah.
Sarah, did you see an email come through from the government last week, I believe it was, with investing $47 million into to hiring more apprentices throughout the different sectors? I think it would, services, construction, I remember. Industry was mentioned, and I think that the individual could receive up to a one-time sum of $4,000. Did you see that?
I did see that come through. Now, I confess I haven't dug into the details terribly far, but I do know that's on the radar of the provincial government.
Okay.
Yes, I did see that same release, Doug.
Okay, thanks. And if anyone would like that email, I could probably send it out. I can send it out to you anyway, Sarah, if you want to forward it on or whatever. Thanks.
I think I've seen that as well. Sometimes it's not new money. It's they're re-announcing things that have been in just more to promote. And I don't remember in that case whether that's what that was. But it is it is definitely, as Martin said, sometimes it's not. It can be complicated for the employers to be able to offer that, as well as to make that match between the individual and the employers.
Okay.
And I've heard from some employers who have been hesitant to be involved in certain pre-apprenticeship programs because they feel they have some people already in their program that they'd like to be able to offer. But yeah, it can be pretty complicated, but it's good. It's definitely good that the province recognizes the importance of that and looking at some of the ratios and making that more possible for youth, as well as for I guess not necessarily youth, for anybody looking to move into that field, as well as for businesses.
If I might, I find myself a little frustrated, and Martin, kudos to you for the work that you're doing. I find myself a little bit frustrated from reports that I get from sort of essential trades apprentice opportunities, right? I've talked to electricians, I've talked to plumbers, I've talked to HVAC people, all of which are good, noble careers and opportunities that are fairly resistant to recession in the broad scope of things, so should be really attractive. And what these people tell me over and over and over again is that they wind up taking on an apprentice, and then that person is just not that reliable, and in the end it's a poor match, and it goes to hell, and that's not a good scenario that we seem to be facing, and the fact that many youth going through their 20s and into their late 20s and 30s, they're working, they're trying to make money, to say to them, hey, why don't you take a step back and sort of reorient your career and become an apprentice. It's not a very resonant message, right? Like by that point, it's too late. Or at least it sure feels too late in a lot of cases, and from the reports that I'm hearing. So, the whole sort of apprenticeship training area is really fascinating to me, and I think there are lots of sort of baked in concerns that we have to start wondering about, and is there something we can do about it. Certainly I've heard lots of messages over the time that I've been involved now in public service, in the public eye, that we need to be talking about apprenticeship a whole lot younger, and talking about the nobility of trades in grade 5 and grade 6, that we're sort of missing the opportunity in the window to sort of structure thinking about that at a reasonable age, and as a consequence, that's why we face some of the deficit, and perhaps even, and I hate to use this word, but some of the flakiness that we see amongst the candidates who are coming into trades and then backing out shortly thereafter. Kind of philosophical, sorry, but it's an interesting problem.
No, but there you can definitely take practical items from that and approaches for sure. Okay, so we're definitely, we've got 1 minute to go. So I think what I'm going to do is propose we will is narrowing it to 3 items, having each person maybe could we have each of you choose 3, or like, is that agreeable to everyone that we move forward with that? I don't want to be driving in that direction if that's not what people hope to do. Is narrowing it to 3 agreeable with everyone? Leanne?
The one thing, Kim, is I'd love to hear other people's thoughts. I mean, some of these items are maybe more attainable than others. So I'm just wondering about that kind of prioritization based on that. I don't know, just thoughts.
Yeah.
Could I suggest maybe we do a little bucket exercise wherein we choose, let's arbitrarily say 3 pieces, but one of them is like a sort of short-term, more achievable kind of outcome that the committee can work on, and the other 2 are in the medium to longer range in terms of our thinking.
I like that.
I think that's reasonable, yeah. Or they may have elements within that are shorter, longer term. Does everyone feel that they could narrow it to that degree? And so we'll move forward, I guess, and send with a short term, 1 short term, and then 2 items that are either medium or longer term for us to focus on, and email that to Jessica. And then Jessica, we'll work together on that. And if you have any questions or we need to go back to the committee to clarify anything, we certainly can. But then to try and narrow it down to some items that we can prioritize and begin to tackle.
Kim, let me make one more suggestion. Maybe what we do is we make a little email come out from Jessica that has a little template on it. And it has, here's your short-term priority, pick from the list. And I think what's important with the short-term priority is for each of us to explain why we think it's achievable short-term. Because, something like housing prices, if it shows up in the short-term list, well, you better explain why you think that's a short-term initiative, right? So if you had a little template that said, here's the action or the tactic, and here's why I think it's achieved in its time frame, I think we would get a little bit more insight into how we proceed.
Okay.
And I just had one thought as well, Kim, before we wrap up. I know we're tight on time, but one thing we found was successful with the regional labor market strategy report was creating a parking lot. So not losing the good ideas, but still prioritizing, but keeping them on hand, because as you know, economic development funding programs come out of the blue often. And it's nice to sort of have those nuggets on hand for when you have the funding opportunities available to pursue them and pull them out of that parking lot.
Great idea, Sarah. Yeah. I think this is a really great full list. It's kind of hard to narrow it down, but no, good idea to place it in a parking lot. That as we move through these items, that we'll be able to have more capacity to have those in. Okay, that's great. I think, Doug, I'm not sure if you'd like to wrap it up then, and then.
Yep, for sure. Yes. So thank you very much, Kim, and for the committee here for your participation. It's a really good start. Jess, you'll be sending us out an email, and do you want to put a time frame on to respond so we have time to put it together before our next meeting, and that'll work out okay. So if there is nothing else to discuss, our next meeting is Wednesday, May 19th at 3:30 p.m. Seeing none, This brings our meeting to an end. And nice shirt, Andrew. I would like.
I almost wore green. Yeah.
And I'd like a motion to adjourn at 4:34 p.m. Moved by Becca, second by Andrew. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you again for today, and enjoy the rest of the St. Patrick's Day.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.